So today's project is, I'm telling you, this ridiculous chicken. So this chicken, who needs a name, was super fun to make. And I think you're going to enjoy doing this project. And you know, if you want to send it to somebody to brighten their day, I think that's a fantastic idea. So I will go through the materials you'll need to make this ridiculous chicken. And I hope you enjoy it. So without further ado, let's draw a chicken. Okay, well, we're ready to get started on today's very silly project. I will go through the materials, but first I wanted you to see, sometimes I have these ideas of what I want something to look like, and I'll do just very, very quick thumbnails. And so I did a couple of quick sketches about where I wanted the eyes to land and what that might look like. And then I did still a sketchy sketch, not very complete, but I wanted to get the basic layout done. And you can see I erased a bunch of times. I figured out I wanted the eyes kind of goofy and hanging off the head. And I changed the wing a little bit too to make it more chicken-like. So here is my pencil drawing that I'm not going to trace it. I'm just going to kind of mimic that onto the watercolor paper. Okay, having said that, I am using really basic cold press watercolor paper. It's the Canson XL, very economical and accessible, very easy to find in any craft store or online. So I have that. This is 4 inches wide by 5 1/8 inch. I don't know why that's become my favorite size, but it has, and I don't know why I need that extra 1/8 inch, but here we are. Okay. I have a graphite pencil and an eraser. I will use both of these sparingly. I have 3 brushes here. I'm not exactly sure which ones I'm going to use, but they're all rounds. They're 3 different brands because I guess I go with what I like, not necessarily the brand. This is an older brush. It's a number 8 round from Artist Loft, which is Michael's private label, Michael's Craft Stores. This is one of my newer brushes. This is a Princeton Velvet Touch. It's a number 10 round. Really like this one. And this also is a number 10. It's Bestie. I think that's how you say it. It's from Jerry's Artorama. It's their private label. So that's another number 10. I don't know why I have both of these, but this new one has a very nice point. You can see the difference in the points. This one's a little more ragged. I've used it a bit, but it's good for just doing a big old blobby wash. So those are the brushes I'm going to use. And I'm just making a decision on the fly. I'm going to use a Micron 01 waterproof marker. And so that's what I'm going to use. We'll do that later. I also have my glasses. And I will show you the paints I'm going to be using. These are my standard, this is my standard palette. And most of these are Blick Art Stores private label, which they don't make anymore. They are tube paints that I put into these wells and let them dry. And so I have, and some of them are Windsor W-N-Cotman brand. And again, not super brand specific. I kind of go with the colors I want and a decent quality. I also have an inexpensive set that I use quite often as well, but today we're going to use the semi-big guns. And then I have an auxiliary palette because I ran out of holes over there with some other colors. This is a cerulean blue, a permanent green light. This is the lemon yellow that's also in the other palette, but I've contaminated this. It happens. But I only ever use it to make this green. And then I have, I think that's burnt sienna and a black, which I probably won't be using today. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is move that paper out of the way. And I'm not going to spray this one yet because I'm not going to use the green for a while, but I'm going to spray these paints to get them activated. You want your watercolors to be wet. So anyway, here we go. I'm just going to let those sit and get activated. And I also have a paper towel. I'm going to make sure my little pad here is, straighten that out so you don't get all cockeyed in there. And don't want to have any of that. Okay, the other thing you can't see right now is I have 2 jars of water. One to swoosh my dirty brush out and one to keep clean so that I can have clean water when I'm mixing my paints. Okay, then we're ready to go. Taking my pencil. Now this is this really rough drawing. So I'm just gonna draw really sketchy on here, like really light, because I don't want to erase a lot. And once you put watercolor down, it's hard to erase your pencil if you've gotten watercolor on top of it. So basically it's a kind of elongated half circle. There, we now have a chicken body, and it has 2 blobs for legs. We're gonna do kind of a fun tail. Let's see, her wing, I do want that to be sort of angled. And these eyes are hitting over that, and I like this idea of having a big eye and a little eye. And then her comb, beak, she's looking very silly already. And then a little drop for whatever that thing is called on the front of a chicken. I'm sure you guys will tell me. And then chicken legs are delicious, but also they kind of have this funny little, I make stuff up a lot. So then she's just got this kind of funny little gait. Okay, we got a chicken. Now, I can see she's a little off center, I think. Yeah, we're fixing this on the fly. Okay, all of this is coming off. We're gonna make that a little bit deeper over here. See, you get to make these changes as you go. Here's your little thingy in the comb. I know it's called a comb. There, I want to put her eyeballs in there so I can. Okay, so I'm going to now, because I'm going to do paint first. Now I could ink this first if I wanted to, but I'm going to paint first. So I'm going to try to take off as much of this pencil as I can and just leave a really, really light guide for myself of where things are going. I'm also going to take, if you have a kneaded eraser, which are very handy and very therapeutic because you can just play with it, is you can go in and start to take off a lot of that pencil so that you don't have a lot of pencil. You can still see what you're doing and where you're going, but it's not a heavy pencil. Go light with your pencil as much as you can, okay? I've also left a little space down here because I so cleverly, I didn't write this, someone else did. If I'm gonna make this into a card, I wanna have a little space down there to write some funny letters that say, just chicken in, because it's funny. Okay, there we go. So we are ready to paint. I'm gonna put my erasers back in the bucket of erasers. Get the stuff out of the way that I don't need, and I'm gonna get my paint, and we're gonna start painting. Now, when we paint, this is gonna go this way. You have to remember that paint is paint. Pencils are pencils, and markers are markers. When I'm using paint, I want it to look like paint. I want it to look like there's a juiciness around there. So I'm not going to do I don't want to just fill in this space. I want to make the watercolor do its thing, to have some blending and to have some life to it. So what I'm going to do is, we're going to move Miss Chicken out of the way. And I'm going to come in with this fatter brush. I am going to activate this. This is the Quinacridone Rose. I want a pink chicken. So I want to get a good puddle of paints because I have a fair amount of real estate that I got to cover there. So you always go from your paints to the palette to the paper. Going right from the paint to the paper is just going to bring you trouble. So I'm going to make that big pile. And then I want to have that flow from that pink to a magenta. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to, clean off this spot. You can see the method to my madness. Just use my little spray bottle, paper towel, and give myself a little space there. You can have an auxiliary palette, another little palette, you know, like a little, just a little plastic palette that you can mix paint on separately from your, whatever's in your palette. Okay, so I've got my pink going, and then I have this really pretty mauve, which is one of the Cotman colors, the Windsor Newtons. I'm just gonna grab a bunch of that so I have that on hand. I actually think, again, making decisions on the fly, I'm going to start with it because I know I want her comb to be like a warm red, so I don't want the pink right next to it. I'm going to go with that magenta. The other thing that I have on hand is a scrap piece of this watercolor paper. Actually, that's not that watercolor paper. Let's find another one. Talk amongst yourselves. No, really. I have more paper. That's this paper. I have this little pile of paper. Well, we're not going to worry about that. Anyway, have an extra piece of the same that you are working on so you can test your colors before you commit to your artwork. So I like that. I think that's really pretty. Okay, so I'm going to go in, as I always say, with conviction and confidence, and start my chicken. So I'm going to kind of roughly go around where that wing's going to come out. And I'm using the full chunk of the brush because I want to make sure that I am really getting some paint on the paper. Let it do its thing. I'm kind of going around the eyes and that bill. And am I still in camera range? Yes, I am. I get carried away and I'm just painting and I'm thinking, oh wait, they probably want to see this part. Okay, so I'm doing about halfway down the chicken. That's nice and wet paint. Okay, swoosh out my brush. And I'm going to come in with that pink, but I'm going to kind of meet it in the middle. So I'm going to go down to the end here. I have those little leg bumps. And I'm just... You want it to be, you want it to look like paint. You're not coloring, you're painting. So I'm going to bring in that, and I want those two to merge. And that is looking really fantastic. So you can see I left a little hole there, so hopefully it's gonna, yeah, oh well. Let's try to put a little more paint in there. There we go. Okay, so there she is. Now that's going to take a minute to dry because that's very wet, and everything that I'm going to do is attaching to that red, or that pink and mauve. So I want to let that dry completely before I go in and put any more color in there. So I will come back at that time and let that dry. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, so this is nice and dry. So now I can go and do all kind of the attachments around Miss Chicken here. So the first thing I'm going to do is these little, I guess it's the tail. And since nothing is based on reality here with this chicken, we're just going to continue to go outside reality. I'm going to use this other brush. I'm going to use the Princeton Velvet Touch because I want to get a nice point in there. So we're going to activate this green, and I'm going to use two different greens because we're painting. And we want to have paint. Oops, wrong. There we go. Make that a little more yellow. So I'm using that. I got a nice blob of that going. Yes, nice limey green. I love greens. Okay, and then with my other palette, I'm going to activate this. I don't know which one this is. It is listed in my description. So just a little more of a Kelly-ish green. Get some of that going, and I want to make sure that that's a nice contrast. Yes, that's going to make a nice little blend. So I'm going to start with that one. since it's already on my brush. And I'm just going to come in, kind of like what we did here. I'm going to start at this end, and I'm just going to start those tail feathers down in the corners. Meet it up there. Clean my brush. This is kind of a pain having two palettes, but hey, it works. The idea of starting a new palette and getting all in one place is like, ugh, I don't want to. And sometimes the answer to a question is, I don't want to, is a perfectly fine response to any question that someone asks you. I don't want to. I'm sure you could find a nicer way to say that. I always like to tell people, yeah, that's not going to work for me. And you usually don't have to say anything after that. Yeah, it's not going to work for me. Thanks, but no. So, all right. So that's really cute. Now, here's the other thing with your brush. If you clean your brush just a little bit and dry it, just dab it on your paper towel or tissue that you're using. You can usually hoover up any excess paint that either is going to take too long to dry or is just too globby. Okay. I think that's a little bit contrasty. I'm going to go back in with some of this green and make those a little closer. It's going to be really cute when it dries. And of course, we make everything even cuter. We up the cute factor when we put our line work in. Okay? That's very cute. Now, let's go back to our original palette. And I'm going to make this wing in a couple of blues. So I have an aquamarine here. Get a pile of that going. And, all right, don't jump the gun. Okay, and then I have this phthalo green. I have this pile over here that's a little bit, that color is really intense. So that needs a fair amount of water to get it to a consistency that I like. It's still a little strong. And I have found when I add this green to it, it gives a really nice turquoisey kind of color, but it's still too intense. So let's add some clean water to that. Isn't that pretty? I think I'm going to add a touch more green to give it a really nice turquoise. Ooh, that is pretty. Okay. So I'm going to come back with that. What did I say that was? Ultramarine? Yeah, that's what it's called. Okay. I giggle to myself. Okay, so I'm going to start with that blue. And that's just kind of a funny little shape. Putting that in. And then we're going to use that blue-green and come up from the bottom. So everything kind of just is just going to be cute. Looks like paint. I'm not coloring, I'm painting. All right. So when that dries, that's going to make a really nice transition. Really cute. Now that green's starting to be cute too. Okay. Now for the comb and that wattle thing, I suppose I could have looked up what that's called. But I know you guys are going to tell me. And I appreciate that. So I have this permanent red, I think it's permanent red light. But it's just a nice true red. It's really nice. And we'll put it next to that mauve. Yes, that is nice. So I'm going to dab off a little bit. Now remember, I've got these eyeballs going on here. In fact, I want to make sure that I know where those eyeballs are. Okay, the one is big and the other one's a little bit smaller. Okay, so we're going to go in with this. You know, if your paintbrush is good enough, which I am a firm believer in, if you're going to spend any money early on in this creative pursuit, your brushes are critical. And I'm not talking spending $30 a brush. I'm talking $10 a brush. Even $8. I've found some really nice ones. And if, you know, in some ways bigger is better because if it has a decent point, you can get into smaller spaces. Okay, and then I'm just going to do that little wattle thing, and that I'm just doing like a teardrop shape. And that'll come together in the when we ink it. Okay, well that's coming together really, really cute. Okay, so we've got the beak and the legs. So we want to get some yellow in there. So got this nice golden yellow. I think it's permanent yellow medium. And I'm going to add, this is this red that I put over here because I want a nice kind of golden yellow. That's pretty. I think I want to go a little more yellow because I am going to do kind of a two-tone on the, wait, where am I going here? Oh, we want more water. There. Because the lower part of the beak is going to be a darker color. It's a little watery. And just hoover it up. Okay. Add a little more yellow because I want these feet to really stand out. So the feet just bloom, boom. Just make marks. Don't worry about it. 3 chicken feet. The back foot thing, the back toe. Is that a toe? Chicken people? Oh, tell me, chicken people. What is that? I'm going with a little more intensity there. And I'm also going to suck up this excess. Just daubing that off. Bring it back. I'm going to come in with a darker tone again and put some texture in there. Okay, this is, you can already see her attitude, even though we haven't done the line work yet. She's got a really funny attitude. Okay, so we're going to let that part dry, and then we are going to come in, and I want to put a darker orange under that beak so you can tell that she's got kind of an open mouth because she's squawking a bit, and we'll come back. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, we have a nice dryness situation here. So I'm going to go in and beef up that yellow a little bit. And I'm going to put that second part of the beak there. It'll look more obvious when we do the line work. Just play around there. Okay, that's good. And I want to add a little more of that orange and put some marks on the legs and feet. So all we're going to do is put little, this tip is funky on this brush, but it's got enough of what I need. So I'm just going to make marks on each of the toes. Yeah, this is a weird brush. I don't know. I bought 2 of these, a number 6, and it has a weird tip. And this one has a weird tip. I don't know what to do about that. And I bought them, if I lived in the same city where I purchased these, I would return them. But I live about 250 miles away from the store from which I bought them. Yeah, I'm not happy with that. Anywho, enough of Ronnie's whining. Let's just suck up some of that excess and let that dry. It will be very cute despite my funky. It's a good thing I have a quirky art style. Otherwise, people that didn't would be more frustrated than I am. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. As most things in life, we're going to make it work. Okay, now the last thing I'm going to do in the paint is I have this little area here. I have a color called Payne's Gray, which is a very nice kind of bluish grayish color. But if you don't have Payne's Gray, I don't like to use like black or gray. I like to put a little bit of color in it. You can use black and then put a little bit of ultramarine blue in it. So we have, it's kind of a, so it just isn't black. It's a little bit on, this looks a little green, but it's kind of a bluish gray. So I'm going to, again, this is where, this can be nerve-wracking to do. I'm just going to put a slight shadow under here so she looks like she's kind of running, and just really subtle little shadow there. See, she kind of looks like she's up above the ground. Okay, so we're going to let this dry completely, and then we're going to come in with line work, and then this little darling is going to come to life. I think we should give her a name. What do you think? Any name suggestions? Put them in the comments. We'll call her that. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, now the fun starts. We are going to use our pen and do the line work on this adorable chicken. So when I do something like this that has the potential of kind of messing up, I do the hardest part first. And for me, the hardest part is going to make these eyes. I want her to look zany and goofy, but I don't want her to look like, you know, kind of crazed. So anyway, I'm going to go in. Now, if you're going to draw a circle, let's just demonstrate over here. It's really hard to just go all the way around and make a circle. Okay, that's pretty good. But what I like to do is kind of not get too sketchy, but sort of bring it around and not worry about, even if I have a little extra, that looks like it's intentional. So if you're not good at drawing circles, and that was a real fluke that I was able to draw that so easily, don't worry about that. We're going to go in with confidence. Okay, that was pretty good too. I am going to give it a little extra because all of the line work is going to be a little bit funky. Okay, and so her eyes, I want her to look a little bit like she's looking at the viewer. Okay, that's pretty cute. And again, her expression is going to happen when I put the bill in. And there's ways that you can, so I'm making a little curvy. Oops. Okay, she looks pretty cute. And then this thingy that, you know, while I was letting this dry, I could have looked up what that's called, but I didn't. Okay, so then we have her wing. I'm going to go in with that, and let's see, we want to get a good, I'm going to go around like that. It's kind of just a big blobby thing. It's a wing though, we know it's a wing. Looks kind of like a manatee, but we're going to call it a wing. And I think I might do something to make it look wingier. I'm just going to put a little, fill in that edge as if I intended to do that. Same over here. Okay. And we're going to come over here. I'm sorry, my bracelet's making noise on the table. And come in. Again, you kind of do this with conviction. It doesn't have to be right on the edge. In fact, we don't want it right on the edge. And those little leg bits. So she's looking pretty cute. Now let's do the comb. And again, we're just going to do it really loosely because we want her to look a little bit frazzled. I think we've succeeded in frazzling her. And then I'm going to come in and do that tail. I guess they're tail feathers. This is turning out really cute. I know exactly who I'm going to send this to. Somebody who needs a little uplift these days. She's going to get this very playful and goofy chicken. Very cute. Okay, so here I'm going to make a commitment on these wings. May or may not work, but I'm going to come in. I'm going to make some sort of feather shapes. Just kind of little, not quite round, but I'm going to come in and do a little pattern in there. And that will just, it's going to add a little texture, and it's also going to add a little energy that she's running around. being a chicken. Okay, so I think that is cute. I'm also going to do a little something. And here's what's the beauty of the line work is the line work enhances what we're doing. It's not just an outline, it's an extra element of fun and artistic expression. And it's just cool. Okay, I think that's really cute. Now I'm going to come in and do these legs and feet. Again, really loose. Don't try to outline. Boom, boom, boom. Chicken legs. Okay, you can't help but smile if you're drawing a zany chicken. Okay, she's pretty cute. Now, I think what I want to do, as far as I'm concerned, she's pretty much finished. I am going to add a couple of little motion marks to drive this point home. A little bit on her feet, not a lot, but you know, our brain goes, she's in motion, and we might as well put some on the wing as long as we're here. Don't want to overdo the running around marks, but I'm going to come back in with some paint. Am I? Yes, I am. Okay. This is a commitment and a spontaneous decision. So I'm going to come in with this stronger red. I'm going to go with a slightly smaller brush. Where is my... Okay, this is, I don't know what this is. This looks to be about a 6. It's a Robert Simmons. Apparently I've had it forever. And I just wanted a smaller size. I'm going to test it on activating that red. Make sure I get a, yeah. See, I'm going to come in and put some marks like that, but I need a little more intensity of that color. But I still want it transparent. Okay. I'm going to be brave here. And put in, I'm just going to come in. What? I'm all of a sudden nervous. Nope, we're doing it. And then coming in with some feathery kind of marks. Not a lot, but I think that kind of, I think that's really cute. Nope, that's enough marks. All right, I'm calling this chicken finished. I think she is adorable. Now when I finish her and she's completely dry, I will round the corners. She might get an outline, I'm not sure, and I haven't committed yet to words. Maybe the words are up here. Just chicken in. I'm not sure what I'll do with that, but if I do something, I'll let you know. All right, okay. You've committed to drawing a zany chicken today, and thank you for being here. And I just want to say one thing to you. That is, this should be fun. If it's not fun, you need to do more of it till it becomes fun. The second thing is, I want you to take care of yourself. And being creative and picking up a pen or a pencil or a brush is a way to take care of yourself. It's a way to take care of your soul, and I'm here for it. So I appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.